Hello and welcome back to the League One Lowdown preview show. It's been a couple of weeks since we did one of these owing to FA Cup fixtures, and I think I can at least say the less said about them, the better. Lincoln City, my side, knocked out, but we're happy to have another week of League One football back. We'll make the most of it because it looks like next week we're going to have a bunch of international fixtures, so that'll make things a little bit more difficult. But as always, on the preview show, I'm joined by my co-host, Sam. Sam, how are we? You're looking rather smart today.
Yeah, all good, my friend. Yeah, got the work uniform on. Not prepared for the Football Manager release that's coming later today. Not my suit and
Yeah.
tie. And I
No,
also wish this was my living room, to be honest, as well.
it would be nice. It would be
Yeah.
lovely, wouldn't it? But as always, we're going to go through the games coming up this week. We'll put our predictions as well as we go along. There's been quite a bit of murmurings on, obviously, in League One football in the background with quite a few managerial movements as well. So I'm sure we'll touch on that. But as always, Sam, our predictions league. It's still going overall all right for me, but a couple of slip ups in recent weeks, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks since the predictions league. So if you are new around here, you get 3 points for a correct score, 1 point for a correct outcome, and then your wild card gives you double points. So last week, Callum, you got a correct outcome on your wild card, so you got 2 points for that. So overall, you scored 9 points.
I'll take it.
I've somehow got 13 points. I don't
Oh,
know how I did it. I
yeah.
beat you last week. So the gap now is 14 points. You are on 126 and I am on 112. If my maths is correct, that is 14. Um, so I'm still hoping to close that gap by a little bit more. We're at the point in the season where stats are hopefully starting to mean a little bit more, unless you're Port Vale,
Mm.
who should be third by my expected points table, um, who are now, what, 21st? So yeah,
Yeah.
it's not going well for them in terms of actual results.
Stats don't always mean something. We'll get on to
Not
Port
always,
Vale.
no.
We'll get on to Port Vale shortly in the predicament they are in. But just a reminder, if you do enjoy what we do here at League One Lowdown, make sure you hit subscribe, like the video. There's a couple of videos that have gone out over the past week about Stevenage and about Football Manager and Lincoln City as well. A couple of special episodes for you over the past week. Make sure you head back through the channel feed and watch them as well. If you subscribed, you won't have missed them. So make sure you do the right thing and hit subscribe. And there's notifications, ads. Well, whilst you're there, follow us on your Spotify and your Apple Podcasts as well. Whilst you're at it, everything is hugely appreciated. Sam, we'll get to our fan feature about halfway through the episode, like we always do. But a bit of thinking time for us both. This week we're going to be focusing on the player at our clubs that could make the step up. Not
Mhm.
necessarily the best player at your team, because I think that might be a more experienced player, but the player that you think could play in the Championship or maybe even the Premier League. If you're watching this on YouTube or in the Spotify comments, leave your suggestions as well. Let us know what you think. Sam, have you got your cogs turn? Have you got an
I've got
idea
a
of what it
couple.
could be?
Yeah, I've got a couple for my club.
We'll
Yeah.
come to that shortly, and we'll make the case, and maybe we'll crown a winner out of our two clubs
Mm.
as to who it could be. But we'll get into the predictions, and again, there seems to be quite a few of these games that we reference, teams that we think at the start of the season we would have swapped around, but AFC Wimbledon, who are in sixth place, suffering defeat for only the fifth time this season, last time after that long unbeaten run, they face Peterborough United, who got off to a winning start under their new manager, Sam.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's important to hit the ground running, especially when you're a new manager. I don't know if you've seen the clip, the short clip that Peterborough posted on their Twitter about Luke Williams basically calling them boring, which has done the rounds.
Mm.
And he seems like a manager. Obviously, there was these pictures of him working at, I think it was Bristol Airport, wasn't there, when he wasn't
Yeah.
managing. He just seems like a really good people
He seems
person.
likable, doesn't he?
He's very likable, and his style of play at Notts County was very well admired, which got him the move to Swansea. And it's important when you're a new manager. It doesn't matter how you win. Like, they weren't
Mm.
brilliant against Cardiff, but Cardiff had just come off the back of getting into the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. So the mood around the camp would have been high, and it's a very good win against a very good Cardiff City side who, by all accounts, didn't actually rotate too heavily. A
Mm.
different system as well for Peterborough, going with the 4-3-3 rather than a back five as well. So it'd be interesting to see if they do go with a back four. Different type of game though Wimbledon to Cardiff, a footballing side versus, and please don't take this the wrong way, Wimbledon fans, a side that doesn't play pretty football, but is
Yeah,
very efficient at what they do. And that's been proven with the results they've got. Only one winning four in all competitions. It dampers the mood a little bit at the moment. Obviously, going out the FA Cup last week to Gateshead as well was disappointing, especially with the side they did put out.
yeah.
But sixth in League One, I don't think they could have asked for a better start after 14 league games. We think it's 50 points roughly to survive.
Yeah.
They're already halfway there with just over a quarter of the season gone, so they're going to be mightily pleased.
I just want to touch on Peterborough as well, and some of their key players, because I suppose is a big reshaped squad
Mm.
that they've got. But when your top goal scorer on three is a 19-year-old on loan striker in Jimmy J Morgan, and when your top sister only has two, it's not ideal. I think what they need, and what I suppose this new brand of football under Luke Williams is hoping, is to kind of make those players shine and show off a little bit more, and at least have that talisman that can get you more than 3 goals in the opening. What is it? 15 games, 14, 13 games so far this season. It's not a great return, is it, overall?
No, not really. And I think part of it is probably down, number one, to confidence. I think
100%.
confidence is massive, especially in a young side. It's massive, and they are a young side, regardless of who they bought at the end of the window. And I think a lot of them, they just need a bit of freedom. And when
Yeah.
you're losing football match, obviously kind of lose that freedom, and you're a bit tense. And sometimes when a new manager comes in, it releases sort of that tension, and you're a bit more free.
Mm.
Um, and maybe after a victory in his first game, we'll see a bit more freedom to not only the front line but the midfield as well. Like Archie Collins at a base of a midfield is probably a very adept player to do that, because he can run, he can pass, and they've got flair in the final third. So I do think Peterborough have a nice balance to their squad, especially going forward. Defensively is another story, but if you can get your front players firing,
Mm.
then you can win more games, because you can win 4-3 or whatever. And I think that's been Peterborough's biggest problem this season, is scoring goals, and
Mm.
we never associate that with Peterborough.
It'd be interesting to see if I mean, it is only 5 points in it
Yeah.
between them and safety, so it'd be interesting to see if they can. It's weird to be talking about the team bottom of the
Mm.
table after one game under new management in such glowing terms. In terms of
Yeah.
a prediction for this match, I think you've got the quality and the resilience of a Wimbledon side versus the new
Mm.
manager bounce of a Peterborough, and I can kind of see a draw coming here. I can kind of see maybe a score draw between the
Mm.
two sides. I'm going to go 2-2 here, I think.
Okay, so Peterborough have only won one of their 6 home games, and you flip that to Wimbledon, who have got the second best away record in the league: 4 wins and 3 defeats, 10 scored and 10 conceded. I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. I won't
Yeah.
go 2-1. I'll go with a 1-1 draw for that one.
So it's one of them. I feel like the narratives around both sides kind of cancel themselves out.
Yeah.
Two kind of, dare we say, juggernauts of this
Mm.
league, or what we would have perceived as juggernauts going into this season. Huddersfield Town, who find themselves in ninth, very similar situation to last season, lost 3 on the bounce for them. They welcome a very lowly Plymouth Argyle, who have also lost 3 on the bounce, winless in 4. There was this feeling of resilience and kind of like a bounce back from
Mm.
Plymouth not so long ago. That seems to have completely dissolved.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they went for a spell, didn't they? It was all in September, where they won. I think it was 6 of their 7 games in September. And you're thinking, right, Tom Cleverley's got his ideas across, and we're now going to see a side that goes up the table. They have had injuries. They have had injuries to key players. There was a statement, obviously, from someone on the board,
Yeah.
saying how much they back Cleverley, and injuries haven't helped to 7 first-team players. I
Hmm.
get that,
But you've got the
but
money to have a squad depth, haven't you? Surely, like,
yeah, and you've got to have this resilience about you. Change the way you play to get a point rather than defeats. Like, they've gone away in the Devon Derby and they've lost 2-0. And by all accounts, they were shocking. Like, it could have been more. They've gone away to Mansfield and lost 2-0 without scoring. And then they've gone to Wycombe, who have had a resurgence in the moment, and they've lost
mm,
that 2-0 as well. So they've not scored in their last 3, albeit they have been away. And once they finish this run on the 11th of November, they've had 5 away games in a row, which doesn't help. But in a weird way, it probably does help them not being at home and losing games, because the crowd's not constantly on their back.
Yeah.
They just need to somehow find a win from somewhere. It doesn't matter how it happens, just a
Mm.
win. Or a clean sheet would be a good start, a good base to build from. But they're coming up against the Huddersfield side, who we don't really know what you're going to get. It's extremely similar, sort of, to what they
Yeah.
did last year, isn't it? They had a really good start, and you're thinking, right, okay, you may have done XYZ recruitment, and you're looking okay, and then they've capitulated. Lee Grant looks devoid of ideas. Lost the fan base after 13 games is never really a good thing for a manager. And
Yeah.
they're another side like Plymouth that don't seem to be able to grind out a result. Like they lost to Harrogate, they've lost to Stockport, Bolton, Wycombe, and then Bolton again. I mean, it's one of the worst defences, if not the worst defence in the top half as well. And I
Yeah.
always think if you're going to win leagues and win promotion, you're built from a solid base. And you look at Huddersfield's squad, how that squad is where it is in the table is a joke,
Yeah.
quite frankly. I think you could put or use our managers, Skubala and Wellens. I reckon if you put both of them in there, you'd have
They'll
Huddersfield in the top
command
six.
respect, won't they? That's the thing, and
Yeah,
I feel like for all of his ex-pro status, league run, he doesn't command the respect of
no,
when you've got a squad full of egos. Like there is, I mean, any football club is full of egos, right? We know that
yeah,
the footballers tend to have a larger ego than the rest of us, and probably understandably, considering they're playing in front of tens of thousands of people every single week. But you struggle to see if he's managed to contain the expectations. Both of them are kind of squashed under the weight of their own
yeah,
expectations, and aren't they? Really? I mean, we got a lot of stick for what we said about Plymouth and citing, Pieface. We cited Pieface and the reactions that we know he's a fan. We know he's representative of a fan. Obviously, he's got a larger fan base than the average person. But that it wasn't necessarily him. It was more just the general fan and fan pressure, and we're seeing that at Huddersfield as well. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. It's just purely that's the expectation of that football club. That's what the players are feeling, and they're not managing to live up to it. And let's put it this way: one of the records has got to give.
yeah.
At least at least they're going to get a point at the minimum. You'd think it's just who do you back here, and with it being a home advantage, I'm kind of turning to Huddersfield, but I don't think it'll be a good win. It'll be a 1-0. It won't be an impressive match. It won't be a fun match to watch. I struggle to see how either fan base is going to leave this match happy, to be honest.
I've gone for a 2-1 Huddersfield win. I just think at the moment Huddersfield they do have the quality in their squad, and it come down to a bit of individual brilliance rather than um, how can I put this? I think Huddersfield have more depth, quite frankly, and I think
Yeah,
a substitute will win the game in this one. I just think you look at Plymouth squad; it's devoid of quality at this
yeah.
moment in time because of injuries, and then it just comes down to magic. I don't think that we obviously rate Tom Cleverley quite heavily in
Well, we
our
thought we would,
pre-season.
yeah, because he did all
Yeah,
right in the
you're right,
championship.
Watford.
So
Yeah, and it's for some reason it's just not clicked at the moment, but it could be a springboard if they do manage to get 3 points this weekend. But then I'm going to call this El Sacico. You
yeah,
lose and you're gone. I'm guessing. I've not seen what fixtures are postponed next week, but I'm guessing both of these teams won't play.
yeah.
So
There's a
El
chance for them to
Sacico.
make a change. Yeah. We shall see. The one team that is close to competing, what I'm going to call the United Strand Challenge, of winning 5 games in a row, considering that doesn't seem to happen very often for a certain football club, um, is Stockport County, who've won the last 4 in a row. They seem to be really kicking on. Were impressive
Mm,
against Port Vale. With 3 first-half goals, I think that was last time out, wasn't it? In
yeah,
that Monday night match, um, they face a Luton Town side who have got their first win in 4 last time out in the league. Um, but again, it just seems like a bit of a nothing season so far for Luton. I suppose the relief for their fans will be that they're not in the immediate danger of relegation like they were last season. That could
mm.
quickly change. Maybe we overestimated how much of a transition year this needed to be, I think.
Quite possibly. Yeah, and I think nothing against Matt Bloomfield. Maybe it needed that fresh voice in the dressing room, especially after you've been relegated. There
He
wasn't
was too nice, wasn't he? I think that's what a lot of
maybe,
fans were
yeah,
saying.
and there wasn't mass overhaul in that squad. Yes, there was new players, but there wasn't mass overhaul. Um, and Jack Wilshere's gone in his 4 games in charge.
Mm.
Yes, they had a massive scare in the FA Cup, but that's what the FA Cup's about. He won his Virtue Trophy thingy game,
Yeah.
and he also won his league game against Northampton. And that's the type of game that welcomes you to League One. Like you had the first baptism, shall we say, against Mansfield, and they missed a penalty in that game and to give them the lead. So the momentum swings in football. But then they followed it up and they went away. I think it was away to Northampton and won 1-0, which is a very difficult place to go. And winning only breeds confidence. It doesn't matter how they come. It doesn't matter what competition it's in. Winning breeds confidence and it brings momentum.
Hmm.
And 3 wins in a row for Luton against the Stockport side, like you say, who have won 4 league games in a row. I don't think you're going to have a much tougher test. We're
No.
about to see, I think, where are Luton Town currently? Are they a team looking to get into the top 6? Or at the moment, are they just a mid-table side? And going to Edgeley Park is probably the most tricky game, other than probably Valley Parade at the moment this season.
Yeah. I would probably hesitate to say that they are in mid-table. I don't think we'll see a promotion push from them this
Mhm.
season. I think they're just going to be a bit too
Mm.
inconsistent. And Stockport County just relentless. I don't think we'll see a Birmingham style season from them, but I think we're in this important. I think this part of the season's really underrated. Everyone always says about it's how good you are at the start and how good you are at the end and finishing well. It's this part of the season where you're in that grind, aren't you? You're
Yeah.
grinding out results. You know, it's all right to say win and you go top, but that's what matters at this point. You've got to be in the best position possible in the running. And I struggle to see how this is not. I'm going to say a 3-0 Stockport. I just think they've got the quality, and maybe that won't be a reflection on the game. I just think it's a reflection on the quality in front of goal that Stockport have
Mm.
got. When anyone's in front of goal, you don't think they're going to miss at the minute.
Yeah.
Anyone in that team can score, so I imagine they'll have at least 3 chances to put it in the net, and they'll take it.
Okay, I've gone for 2-1 to Stockport. I think Luton will be boosted that Al Hamadi is back in training and came off the
Hmm.
bench last week. So they've got Yates, Al Hamadi, and Wells also scored 2 in the FA Cup. And I think Isaiah Jones is also now back from injury. So big boosts for Luton. But I do think Stockport have the quality to beat them.
Yeah, we'll see with that one. I think it is like you say a very good litmus test for
Yeah.
teams at the minute because we know where Stockport County are. One team that we are struggling to kind of identify where they are is Wycombe Wanderers, who are unbeaten in 4, have
Mm.
looked convincing at times. You would say.
Yep.
They're up to 17th in the table. We were quite worried about them at points. A win in this match would see them jump their opponents, your side, Leyton Orient, who managed to squeeze past
Yeah.
Tamworth. Is that a fair
Hmm.
reflection? 1-0 the other day. I think this is quite, again, like you say, a good test for both sides really. When you think about it, is this the point of the season where Leyton Orient kick on? Is this
Mm.
the point of the season where Wycombe Wanderers rediscover that form that we know they can show and did last season? It's an interesting game.
Yeah, I said it. I think it was it the start of October. I said we don't really get going until around now. We've won 5 of our last 6, and I put it out on Twitter, and some people are going, "Well, you're glossing over that we've actually lost 4 of our last 6 league games." But I don't. A football match is a football match. You can only win what competition you're playing in. We've rotated the squad around, and
Yeah,
like I said about Luton, winning breeds confidence throughout the squad, and I think we're in a good motion at the moment. Squad is fit, it's healthy. Competition for places is there. I think Wellens now knows his strongest team as well, near enough, which is great. Um, and I would say the same for Michael Duff as well. I think he
yeah,
knows sort of the 16 players he wants to use. If you go through Wycombe's squad the past couple of games, especially league games, it's near enough the same squad. He seems to have ditched sort of the players that have come from abroad for big money and just gone, nope. Like we
yeah.
use Bradley Fink, I think, is the example, who's come from Feyenoord or Basel. Nope, nowhere near the squad.
Got rid of it. Yeah,
He's just gone with players that have been around English football, know the EFL, know what the challenges are like. And someone like Corley Woodrow, for example, who we looked at and was like, is he the man to kind of push Wickham up the table? And I said no, but he's gone in there and it's been outstanding for them.
Hmm.
Scored in their last league game, scored against Huddersfield as well. A man on a mission, and it's all well
Yeah,
and good when you've got a confident number 9 who can lead from the front as well. And you've got Sam Bell on the left with Onyedinma on the right, two athletic wingers as well. Um, if they keep their team fit, Wycombe, they'd probably be looking up the table because they've got a
yeah.
good squad at the end of the day of Wycombe.
They've got the players, and obviously their scouting methods worked. You
Yeah,
would say the thing is when you're scouting based on data, you know you're going to find good players.
yeah.
You just know they might not entirely fit the system as well as you expect. So I think we'll see where Wycombe Wanderers go. Um, in terms of this game, in terms of predictions, I don't really know where to look. I can kind of see a
Mm.
draw, if I'm honest. But I tend to predict a lot of draws, and that's not really reflected well on me in the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to back Wickham. Why not? I'm going to go 2-1 to the Wanderers, and
Okay,
why not? Let's wild card that as well, just
okay.
because.
I'm gonna back my own team.
Yeah,
Clean
understandable.
sheets are very in high regard at the moment. I think since Killian Cahill's come in goal, we've looked a lot more solid. A goalkeeper that is very good at shot stopping and commands his area a lot better.
Hmm.
We can clip that when there's a mistake this weekend. Um,
Already
so
on it.
I'm going to back us to win 2-1.
Yeah,
I'm going to go the other way around. We're looking a lot better defense. The only thing that's in my mind is obviously we played, and this is not an excuse, but it is going to be an excuse. Wycombe played 3 o'clock Saturday. We played up past 7 Monday. The
yeah,
players will rest Tuesday, so there's only really 1 or 1.5 training sessions, and then we're the early game Saturday. So,
yeah.
not to get my excuse in there early, but
We'll see. We'll see. The definition of a mid-table clash up next. Barnsley against Doncaster Rovers. Doncaster Rovers, the home team. Sorry, I should say. It's 12th against 11th. I think this one's again quite interesting. It's two teams that have had decent starts to the season, but dare I suggest, are lucky to find themselves where they are, as
yeah.
in so high up the table. Neither of them have won in their last 5 games at least.
Hmm.
They've got a combined 4 points between them. But that's not good form at all.
No, and
I
even if
struggle
you
to
go
see
off,
where this game gets its entertainment value from, and two, which one of these sides is capable of winning a match at this point.
yeah, even if you go off the expected points table that I go off quite a lot, Doncaster are 14th and Barnsley are 17th, so they're roughly where they both deserve to be in
Yeah,
the table. I think we got a bit carried away, didn't we, with both of their starts? Like they were both very, very strong.
yeah,
They don't have the deepest of squads. Obviously, Grant McCann has criticised his players and questioned their sort of mentality at this level. They're not firing in front of goal. Luke Molineux hasn't hit the ground running. Like he was exceptional last season in League Two, but hasn't really done anything in League One thus far. And then for Barnsley, they're heavily reliant on Davis Keeler Dunn.
Keeler done.
Obviously, whereas Cleary
If
scored
he
arguably the
wasn't
goal of
in
the
League
season.
One, if he was not in League One,
Yeah,
Barnsley would be toast.
they would be. Yeah. No, sorry, Seb, but you would be. Obviously, Reyes Cleary scored that absolute worldie last week. And I do wonder with Barnsley, obviously, they're again are in a similar position to what Darrell Clark was in last year in the table. How long do you give Conor Hourihane? Really? Like,
Yeah,
this is a club who expect top six, regardless of their playing budget, near enough.
yeah,
And the form is worrying. The performances are worrying. And for a side that probably expected a top 7, 8 push, where do you draw the line, sort of thing? I know he's a club legend there, but
mm,
Barnsley board have shown in the past they're not scared to make decisions. I think Doncaster are probably pretty happy with how the start of the season has gone and where they are at the
yeah.
moment. If you offered a Doncaster fan 18th at the start of the season, they'd probably beaten your hand off. It's just about staying
Mm.
up for them. So I think this is a high pressure game for Barnsley to get back on the right track. For Doncaster, obviously they need to perform at home. I don't really know where to call this one, to be honest.
I'm going to
Don,
go down the middle. I'm going to go one each. I
yeah,
can't see either side. It's not that I can't see either side. It's hard to. I can't see either side winning. In short, I can't see it at all.
yeah. Barnsley's record away is 2-2-2.
Huh.
So, and then
Does.
Doncaster's home form is okay, 3-2-2. So they're pretty well matched. I'm gonna back Doncaster.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the wrong call. No, I'll go
Oh,
Barnsley 2-1.
it's
Davis
you've
Keeler
gone
done.
Barnsley. You've gone
Yeah,
Barnsley.
Barnsley.
Interesting. Interesting. We'll get to the rest of the games in a moment, but first of all, it's our fan feature sponsored by Sky Bet, as always. And this week we're going to look at players at our club that we reckon could make the step up. I'm sure you've left them in the comments on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are. And whilst you've been doing that, I'm sure you've hit subscribe as well and follow. But these aren't necessarily the best players at our club. So mine,
Yeah.
Lincoln City, Sam, Leyton, Orient. Who have you nominated as your player that could make the step up to the Championship, maybe even the Premier League?
Yeah, so the obvious ones, I'll get the obvious ones out of the way that I've not gone with. Aaron Connolly has played at the Championship and Premier League near enough his whole career.
Mm-hmm.
I think Don Ballard can play at a high level because of his front of goal, but everyone goes for strikers, don't they?
Yeah.
So the player I've gone for, who I believe would be a Championship centre half if it wasn't for all the injuries he's had, is Dan Happy.
Mm-hmm.
6'5", left-footed centre half, who's brilliant on the ball, are very sought after. The only problem with Dan Happy is you probably get 30 games out of him a season. And
Yeah.
if you're a Championship club, you want a centre half that is available probably for 40 of your 46 league games.
Yeah.
And I do think the two knee injuries, he had two quite serious knee injuries. If he didn't have them, he'd be in the Championship now.
Yeah.
But he keeps getting like muscle injuries, knee injuries. So I think that's the only reason Dan Happy is not in the Championship. But to be fair to him, this year I think he's only missed one game through injury, so he's had a
Ooh.
massive improvement in terms of fitness, which is great for us because
Mm.
he's class.
Well, now you've just jinxed him, so
Yeah,
I look
this
forward to your
weekend.
injury. I look forward to your injury this weekend. In terms of Lincoln City, I think there's several players really that you could go for. The likes of Freddie Draper is still a young and raw striker who could make the step up. The same could probably be said of the likes of Rob Street as well. In the midfield, there isn't really anyone that stands out other than Ivan Varfolomiev, sorry, who's had a good start to the season. He's still adapting to League One life, but I think definitely could make the step up to the Championship in the future. But the player that I'm going to go for as my nominee is George Wickens, who I think this season has shown a huge improvement from last year, especially in his distribution and his command of the area. He seems to mainly be a mental thing. He's quite tall. When I spoke to him, you almost have to adjust your camera. He's one of them that's so tall you have to adjust the kind of lens of your camera to speak to. Um, he's mental. You talk about the release of Football Manager, and we Jamie and Seb spoke of that with Tom FM in our previous episode. But his mental attributes, I suppose, to put it in a video game perspective, have really changed this over the summer, especially. And I think just to kind of broaden the conversation out, I think with league to make that change from League One to the Championship and maybe even the Premier League, obviously ability plays a role in it. But I think a lot of it is mental.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily belief or confidence. It's just having that maybe authority as a footballer to just say and to just process the game a little bit better. I
Yeah.
suppose I think is the way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's a much quicker way of thinking, isn't it? The tempo, like if you go watch like a Premier League game in a stadium, not on TV, in a stadium, and then go watch a League One game, the tempo that everything's played at is,
Completely different.
and the concentration, which is probably what a lot of these players technically are very, very good footballers, but it's the concentration
Mm.
that is why they're sort of at League One level. And I do agree with you on George Wickens, actually. Obviously,
Yeah.
I watched him when you lot came to our place last season, and I put in our group that he's terrible. Like, he was really, really poor. And then obviously he's come back this season,
He's made a big step up.
massive improvement, like a massive, massive improvement. So not only with distribution, but also command of
Yeah.
area. Like he looked a lot more assured than he did 12 months ago, which is number one down. I think that partly is down to confidence, but also maturing as a goalkeeper.
I think I read somewhere. I think it was an interview he did with the BBC, or someone did with the BBC, about how he refused obviously a big contract at Fulham to make that step down to League One football, and that need to get extra minutes, and that's the kind of endeavour you want to see from any footballer, especially a goalkeeper. But that has been our fan feature, brought to you by Sky Bet. Again, let us know what you think in the comments. Very interested to see who your nominated player is. But back to this weekend's game and Reading against Stevenage. Stevenage, who are winless in 2, which
Yeah.
I suppose if you just said before the start of the season, we'd have just thought, yeah, that's relatively normal for them. But I don't want to say are alarm bells going, because that's definitely blowing it out of proportion. But what do you think's changed there over the past couple of games?
I just think they get a bit worked out. They have one style of play. And if we always refer to my famous XG table, they're 19th. I mean, there was one team last year, I think it was Reading. They were the only overachievers. There's always one, but we've got a couple this year. Like Wycombe should be 4th, Port Vale should be 3rd,
Yeah.
Stevenage should be 19th. I do think it balances out, and I just think they've been a bit worked out. Like
Yeah.
teams will, at the start of the season, when teams are working where to be positionally, because there's a lot of overhaul in League One squads, players don't know where to be for the second ball.
Mm-hmm.
And Stevenage are a very second ball side. Yes, they've added flair in the final third, which is great, but they still get the ball forward quickly and work off second balls. Eventually, teams know where to be for that,
Mm-hmm.
and they know what the manager requires from them, etc., etc. So I think eventually it comes down to individual quality as well as sides becoming more physical against them. Teams do get worked out, and when you don't have the biggest squad like Stevenage don't, you do get that bit worked out. And I just think that's where Stevenage have faltered in the past couple of weeks. I just think when you get a couple of injuries, you get a bit worked out, and other teams are just, I think, a bit more adept to dealing with their physical prowess.
Reading, for me, are a prime side in how you can phrase statistics to make it look good. Reading have just 1 defeat in their last 5. They also have just 1 win in their last 5. So, do you know what I mean? You can phrase it either way. If we're
Yeah.
honest, it could either be, Reading are either on a great run of form, or they're struggling to win matches. I suppose I imagine it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. In terms of score predictions for this match, I kind of think a draw is on the cards here, but I feel like,
Mm.
again, I've predicted so many of them recently, and it's not exactly gone well for me. So I'm gonna back Stevenage. I'm going to back Stevenage. There we go. I've decided that. Now, what the scoreline is it's going to be a 2-1. It's going to be a 2-1. There we go.
That's what I was going for. I've gone for the same 2-1 Stevenage. I think Gianni will get a goal.
Gianni, who apparently is a much nicer bloke than he is on the football pitch, as I've been told. You listen back to the Stevenage episode. It was a couple. I think it was last week actually.
It was last week.
So listen to that one. A much nicer bloke than perhaps he appears on the pitch. Let's turn our attention then to Northampton Town against Mansfield Town. Northampton Town, who have slipped below my ratio of 5 points above the drop. They're only 4 points above the drop, so maybe worrying signs there. Back-to-back defeats for them. Mansfield Town, who are one of those sides a bit similar to Bolton, that have kind of creeped their way back up the table a little bit, and not what we expected them to do, but they're doing all right.
Yeah, Mansfield are, and I think it comes down to they've had that Everton fixture, didn't they, where players performed to get into the shirt for that game, and then you sort of have that downer of the game's done now, and there is that sort of the come down feeling is what it's called, and then you get that win, and it's like, right, you've got the fire in your belly again to go and get another win, and that's what's happened. But based on their recent form, win draw win draw win, they're going to draw.
Yeah.
And Northampton have only drawn 2 games this season, only scored 10 goals, but it seems the type of game to get Northampton sort of back on track. Like obviously, they lost to Luton 1-0. They lost to Reading, I think it was 1-0. So they don't lose games by many goals. They lose by the odd goal.
Yeah.
I'm going with a 1-1 draw for this one.
I think that's probably a fair assumption, if I'm honest. Yeah, Mansfield Town, they've snuck up there, haven't they? Again, I
They
was
have.
quite worried for them at the start of this season, but then they're not doing too shabby. I'm going to go goalless. Why not?
You always have a goalless one.
I always have
Always.
a goalless. This is my token goalless game of the week. Bolton Wanderers, again, we just mentioned they're one of the sides that have snuck up there in recent weeks. They face a Port Vale side who have snuck down there with no win in the last 4, back-to-back defeats as well. But the numbers suggest they should be doing much better, which is the weird thing.
Yeah, it's really difficult to get a gist of Port Vale, isn't it? They perform well, but then it's sort of moments that go against them. They're making too many mistakes. Like I think it was it Jack Diamond's goal against Stockport where
Yeah,
the defender has been bodied
yeah, been
by a
bullied out of the way.
5'7" winger.
Yeah,
I mean that's not the manager's fault.
no,
Based on statistics, the manager is coaching them victories, and it's individual ability number one and moments going against them. But what I will say is Bolton are a very moments team, and Koza Dewberry scored 2 worldies to win them 2 points recently. But it is the type of game that Bolton in the past, and especially this season,
have lost.
have turned up and gone, oh, we're going to win this, and they don't.
Yeah,
And there's always one rogue fixture that I've gone for throughout the season.
you're gone for this
And
one.
I'm heavily debating going with this one being my rogue pick for the week.
Okay.
But I haven't decided yet. I mean, Port
No.
Vale don't score many and they don't concede many. They're very much like
Yeah.
Northampton, but they haven't. They've just not. They've not had them draws as wins.
Yeah.
But Bolton, like you say, have won 3 of their last 5, 2-1 against Huddersfield and 1-0 against Cardiff, which was the impressive one. But the loss to Burton is still in my mind, albeit away from home, and
Yeah.
the away defeat to Northampton, and they are at home. I'll go 3-0 to Bolton, having said all of that.
Yeah.
I'll go 3-0.
Having said everything that would suggest that you think they're going to lose,
Yes.
you've gone for a win. I'll join you in predicting Bolton for a win, but I'll go 2-0.
2-0.
I think it'd be quite an interesting game. Again, that one. Wigan travelling to Exeter City in our next match. Sam, how do you think this one's going to go?
If I'm Ryan Lowe, I'm feeling the heat at the moment, I think. 1 win in
Ooh.
5. I think everyone expected Wigan to be a lot better this year. He had a pre-season with the squad, especially me. I thought he'd be a lot better than they have. Really inconsistent, conceding far. They've conceded over half of what they conceded in the entirety of last season, which is concerning. Exeter 2 wins in their last 5, obviously buoyed by that victory against Plymouth and then winning in the Cup against Halifax. I'm going to go with another draw, a 2-2 draw in this one.
Interesting. I do struggle to see where the problems are for Wigan. Like we bat them so much at the start of this year, and just out of nowhere, their defence has become leaky, which doesn't make much sense, to be honest. I suppose tactical tweaks in terms of them wanting to score more, but a solid team is built from the defence, so it's a conundrum, isn't it? If we're honest, in terms of the game, I kind of again this has got draw written all over it, but I can't predict that. Back Exeter as the home side in this one. We'll go 2-1, I think.
2-1, yeah.
Yeah. Second place, Bradford. Welcome 20th place, Burton. Burton have got 3 wins in their last 5 against a Bradford side that only have 1 win in their last 5. And if Bradford could win games instead of draw them in the last 4, they would be deadly. 4 draws on the row for Bradford. Is this going to cost them when it comes to the end of the season? They've drawn the most of anyone in the division at level with Reading.
That's a good question. That
drawing
one.
4 in a given where we know they can be, will this cost them?
That's a very good question. I think I'd be more worried if they were losing games by a single goal. They have the ability to grind out results when they're not at their best, which is a hallmark of a good team. So I think they'll be. I think they'll be up there. I think you've got January window around the corner. If they can just get through this period where there is a lot of fixtures, reinvest in January, get some added quality to the squad. But I really like Bradford going, especially. I just think they look like a very good side, albeit they have gone out the FA Cup, which was a disappointing performance by all accounts. But like you say, the 4 draws, while it can be seen as a good thing, they show resilience in games and they have a bit of fight against them.
It's just
Have they
it's
got
hard.
that moment in them?
Yeah, it's hard when one goal would have seen them go top of the table. Like if they've scored 1 goal, they're top of the table. If they scored 2 goals, 2 extra goals over the course of those 4 games, they're 4 points clear. They're 3 points clear at the top of the table. And do you know what I mean? And then that gives that a whole different complexion. But I
And
suppose
Burton
over
seems
the
to be
course of
good.
the season, you can say that about anything. But
And Burton seems to be good against teams up the top end of the table, beating Wimbledon, Bolton, and Cardiff
yeah,
recently.
especially going
Uh,
to places, didn't they? They
yeah,
went to Cardiff and won. We'll talk about them in a
yeah.
moment.
I think
I
this is a trickier game than people make out. This one to
yeah.
predict. Um, I'm going to back Bradford, especially at home. I think they'll win 2-0 Bradford at home.
I, in my head, said whatever you go with, I'm going to go with the opposite. So I'm going to back Burton 1-0. Just for the plot, I think is
Yeah, I
is
think
is
that's fair.
probably is it,
Again, I think that's totally fair as
yeah.
well.
I just well, we'll see. Penultimate game then: Blackpool against Cardiff. Obviously, new manager Blackpool with Ian Evert
Mm.
facing Cardiff, who are third. So it's third against 23rd in this one. Cardiff though suffering 2 defeats in the last 4. But again, you could say they've got 3 wins in the last 5. So again, it's completely how you phrase these sorts of things. Blackpool again, we still wait to see what improvement Ian Evert gives them in their league form.
Yeah, like a bit like Luke Williams, it's important to get off to a good start, and so, albeit they have, they've won their game against Peterborough last week, which was at the end of Darren Ferguson. And while this is a completely different test for them, I think there'll be a good atmosphere at
Mm-hmm.
Bloomfield
Bloomfield
Road,
Road, yeah.
Blackpool, yeah. And I'm still not convinced by Cardiff, to be honest. I'm just not convinced at
No,
all. They play all this pretty football, but the thing with Cardiff is they have match winners.
yeah.
They have Salech, Robinson, the Colwills. They have match winners. But
Do
I
they have a
still don't
team?
think they're that good. I don't think they're that good. Um,
Okay.
I am gonna go with another draw. I am gonna go with a 1-1 draw in this one.
Back-to-back wins for Blackpool could see them out of the relegation zone if scores and goal difference go their way. I kind of want to back Blackpool. 1-0. Let's call it an Ian Evert style performance. We'll go 1-0. Maybe that's one upset too far today, but we'll see. The final game of the day is my side. Lincoln City make the trip to Rotherham United, who have been quite resurgent in recent
Mhm.
times. 3 wins on the trot. Lincoln City without a win in their last 2, drawing to Bradford last time out, defeat to Leyton, Orient, your side before that. I think Lincoln need this game. And
Yeah.
I think this game, for me, there's a lot riding on it. There's already, I don't want to say this because I will sound like it, but there's murmurings of discontent based on
Really?
what has happened. Not necessarily in terms of sacking managers or anything like that, but just a feeling of here we go again. For the past
That's fair.
for the past 2 years, there's been a winter slump that Lincoln have always had. We always fall apart. Out of the FA Cup to Salford City, who they are doing well in League Two, but it's a defeat to a League Two side. You shouldn't ever. Anyway, it's never good when that happens. Struggling for goals recently. Only 1 goal in their last 4 league
Hmm.
games. That is.
Yeah.
Obviously, they hit 3 against Peterborough before that, so it's completely dependent on what Lincoln side turn up. But I think Lincoln need to show up in this game,
Yeah.
and that this game could have a huge. If they win here, gives the players a lot more confidence. They could turn it around for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
If they lose here to Rotherham, which, judging by the form book, they very well could,
Yeah.
it could be difficult.
Yeah, this is a really difficult game, again, I think, to predict again. I think we've got a lot of these games where I don't really know what to predict this week.
Yeah, it's a very tight week this week.
I think Lincoln will win 2-1. There you go. That's my. I've just spur of the moment. I've gone with Lincoln. I think,
Yeah,
like you say, this is a big game for Lincoln to just put some belief back in. I think the result against Bradford is a good result, a good
yeah,
comeback to a disappointing day in East London. It was a disappointing performance,
very
especially second
disappointed.
half. Um, so yeah, I don't think you've been outplayed, if that makes sense. Like you've not been pushed around and bullied like
Hmm.
you were at times last year. And Rotherham side do like to bully teams, and I think
Hmm.
you've got the experience and physicality to deal with that. So I think you'll win 2-1.
I'm gonna back them and say 1-0. I'm not confident it'll be a high-scoring match. I think predicting us to score 2 at the moment is a very dangerous game you're playing. Have you decided which game you're wildcarding?
Yeah, Bradford. I was meant to
You're
say
going to
that. Bradford.
wildcard Bradford.
Yeah.
Okay, we shall see how that goes for you. But that is the end of this episode of the League One Lowdown preview show. As always, make sure you hit subscribe, like the video as well while you're at it. And why not put those notifications on, like the episode, rate it, whatever it is you need to do. It is all really, really appreciated whilst we're in this kind of mid-season grind as it is. We're always here twice a week at least for your League One content. We shall see you very soon. Seb and Jamie will be back with the review show this weekend. Me and Sam will be back next week, and we'll see you then. Bye bye.